So, have you seen them? These massive container-sized boxes popping up everywhere, from the side of the highway to giant solar farms. They're called Battery Energy Storage Systems, or BESS for short. And believe me, they are about to completely change the game for our energy grid. In this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why this boom is happening right here, right now.
Okay, so let's get right into it, because it really does feel like this happened overnight, doesn't it? For years, this was kind of niche technology, something you'd only hear about at industry conferences. But now, it's suddenly a centerpiece in almost every conversation about our energy future. So what on earth flipped the switch?
Well, it's not just one thing. It's more like a perfect storm, a collision of three huge forces. We're going to unpack the insane economics that suddenly make sense, the explosion in green energy that desperately needs a partner, and, well, the surprisingly complex tech that's hiding inside these big metal boxes.
So let's tackle that big question head-on. Why the BESS boom and why now, of all times? It really boils down to two incredibly powerful, interlocking drivers.
The first driver is simple. It's all about the money. And this number is just staggering. In just the last 2 years, the prices for grid-scale battery projects have plummeted by a factor of 5. What was once just way too expensive is now all of a sudden a smart investment. And that, right there, has changed absolutely everything.
But here's the thing. This massive cost drop didn't just happen in a vacuum. It happened at the exact same moment the world started going all in on solar and wind power. And what's the one big catch with renewables? Right. The sun isn't always shining, and the wind isn't always blowing. That's precisely why these battery systems are shifting from being a cool option to an absolute necessity.
And I love this quote because it perfectly captures what a BESS really does. It's a time machine. It grabs all that cheap, abundant solar power at noon and then teleports it to 7 p.m. when everyone gets home and turns on their lights. It's literally a time machine for electrons. But what is this machine actually made of?
Okay, so this brings us to what is probably the single biggest misconception out there about BESS, and that's thinking it's just a giant battery. Honestly, that's kind of like calling a brand new smartphone just a telephone. The reality is so much more complex and, frankly, way more interesting.
In reality, a BESS isn't a battery. It's a fully integrated, high-tech power plant in a box. It's this incredibly sophisticated system that pulls together electrical engineering, thermal management, complex software, and even cybersecurity, all to manage the flow of energy with unbelievable precision.
The best way to think about it is like a living thing. The battery cells themselves, yeah, you can think of those as the body. But the real intelligence, the brain, the soul of the system, is something called the Energy Management System, or EMS. That's the part making all the critical, split-second decisions.
But wait a second. That leads to another puzzle. You hear about BES doing all sorts of different things, from preventing citywide blackouts to just playing the energy market to make money. How can one type of system be perfect for such wildly different jobs? Well, the simple answer is, it can't.
And this is where we get to one of the most important ideas you need to grasp to really understand BESS. They're designed like aircraft. Think about it. You would never use a jumbo jet for a military dogfight, right? And you wouldn't use a fighter jet to fly 300 people on vacation. Same idea here.
On one hand, you've got systems built for grid stability. These are your military aircraft. Their job is mission critical. They have to respond in milliseconds to stop a power outage. They're built for insane reliability and to handle total uncertainty. Then, on the other hand, you have systems built for what's called energy arbitrage. These are your commercial airliners. They are designed to last for 20+ years with maximum efficiency, all to make a good return on investment. For them, certainty is everything.
And the key thing that separates them, the real secret sauce, is that soul we talked about, the energy management system. For that military mission, the EMS is programmed for pure speed and bulletproof reliability. But for the commercial mission, it's programmed to be an economist, studying market trends to buy low and sell high. It's the same body, but with two completely different brains. So let's put it all together. We have this amazingly sophisticated technology that's suddenly affordable, and it's showing up at the exact moment we need it most. So what does that mean for the future? Well, according to the experts, we are right on the edge of something huge. Just let that sink in for a minute. This isn't some short-term trend. The boom that we're seeing right now, this is just year 3 of a 2-decade-long transformation of our entire energy infrastructure. We are just getting started.
And you can actually see this evolution happening in real time. Just a few years ago, BESS projects were basically science experiments, pilot projects to see if this thing even works. Today, grid operators and even governments are starting to make them mandatory. You want to build a new solar farm? Great. You must include battery storage. It's going from a nice-to-have to an absolute must-have.
So what's the next frontier? Well, that soul is about to get a major upgrade. The next generation of these energy management systems will be powered by artificial intelligence. They won't just react to the energy market anymore, they'll be able to predict it, making them smarter, faster, and way more profitable.
Okay, so let's boil this all down. What are the big takeaways here? First, remember that a BESS is a complex power plant, not just a simple battery. Second, this whole boom is being fired up by two things: falling costs and the rise of renewables. Third, these are highly specialized machines. One size does not fit all. And finally, and maybe most importantly, we are just at the very beginning of a 20-year supercycle.
And that leaves us with one final thought to chew on. As we build a world that runs more and more on renewables, like wind and solar, storing that energy stops being an option. It becomes the absolute foundation of our modern lives. The question isn't if we need BES anymore, but how fast can we possibly build them? Thanks for tuning in.